Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the NORAB series for the round of 8. This race located at Kansas Speedway. For this battle here late in the playoffs, race 30 out of 33. Long season winding down for these drivers, and it's go time for a lot of the guys further back in that top 8, trying to make that top 4 and that final race at Phoenix Raceway here in 3 weeks' time. I'd like to thank you all for tuning on in here tonight. Hopefully we're going to bring a good one to you here tonight, as the NORAB series always providing some great racing action. So quick look at what we have here tonight. The NORAB series round of 8 at Kansas Speedway. You can see it right there, located in Kansas City in the United States. 2.46 kilometers. That's going to be 2 miles. And 21 degrees Celsius for all you Celsius fans out there. Overcast skies here tonight. Bit of a cooler track at 18 degrees Celsius. But a good wind, 15 kilometers per hour. So we got a good one tuned up for you here tonight. Here in the NORAB series. Like we mentioned, race 30 out of 33. The NORAB series is one of the series that pretty much mirrors the real-life Xfinity series schedule. So as that season winding down, obviously a little bit changed due to the coronavirus pandemic. But meanwhile, the NORAB series continued with what would have been the normal 2020 schedule, running 85% of the race length in the Xfinity series. And to couple that, they do 85% of the fuel load as well. So you're going to see pretty much an Xfinity race, just a touch shorter. That's what's really cool. 18 degrees Celsius is 64 degrees in American units. And that 21 degrees on the track is going to translate to a crisp 69.8 degrees Fahrenheit. So a relatively cool track here tonight. And keep that in mind as the race goes on. Full track with these Xfinity cars could be a little bit slick here. So stay tuned for that. It's a good look here at Kansas Speedway from all the shots here that we have for you here tonight. And everyone getting their qualifying times in now, which you will see on the ticker up above. Currently, Todd Slauson running on the pole. Corey Wharton sitting in second. We see only 5 drivers logging a lap time here thus far. So we expect to see a couple more drivers jump up into those top couple of spots. Good little turnout here tonight. We're going to have around 15 drivers taking the green flag in the NORAB series. And what we've seen from this series really all season long is a lot of green flag racing, some pit strategy, and maybe a late race dramatic finish. We've seen a couple of those here over the course of the season. Last week was the final race of the round of 12 at the Charlotte Roval. Zach Nichols started on the pole and he finished in victory lane that night, coming home leading, I believe, every single of those 57 laps, if I recall correctly. So great race for Zach Nichols. And if you are new to watching the NORAB series, or you just stopped by for the first time, you might notice the drivers with O's, R's, or nothing next to their name up there on the top of your screen. The O's represent drivers racing for owner's points, so you can think of them as substitute drivers or maybe drivers that haven't run the entire season. Drivers with the R's next to their name or nothing. In Chad Ingle's case, I see, for example, they are drivers racing for driver's points. So they're the drivers racing to get into that championship four with those top four drivers. There are also manufacturer's points, but with no Fords in the field, it's going to be pretty tough to get manufacturer's points there. A lot of these drivers riding in the Toyota Supra and a couple Chevrolet Camaros as well. So the round of 8, a 3-race battle starting at Kansas. Then we move to Texas next week. The following week heads to Martinsville, and then championship night on November 11th at Phoenix Raceway with the open dog leg, and that's always a lot of fun to watch there. So your point standings, this was as of last week after the Roval. Dalton Tucker is in first, Corey Wharton second, Todd Slauson sits third, Sean Briscoe fourth, and Chad Ingle rounding out your top 5. Bruce Ackerman sits sixth, and tied for 7th is Matthew George and Ryan Hendrick. So pay attention to those names throughout the night. We'll try and keep you abreast of them as well. As qualifying complete here, it looks like Zach Nichols going to be starting on the pole for us here tonight. What a race that would be to get him back in victory lane after last week. So let's take you through the grid here. Brought to you by the NORA B Series. Zach Nichols in the 95 from Michigan. He's going to be starting off on the pole here tonight. On his outside, Bruce Ackerman in the 69 will roll off in second. Chad Ingle will start third. He's in the 29. Todd Slauson in the 22. He starts fourth. Corey Wharton, the Canadian driver, the road course fanatic, he rolls off fifth here tonight from Kansas. Ryan Kendrick on his outside in outside row 3. In the 00 starts sixth. Matthew George in the 28. He will roll off 7th. And race director, that's Josh Conover. He starts in 8th. Keegan Bitzer will roll off in the 9th position, starting in that number 7 machine. And Drayton Cook, haven't heard that name in a minute. He rolls off 10th. Brian Powell in the number 5 rolls off 11th. And on his outside, Brian Howell, don't get those two mixed up, he will start in 12th. Dalton Tucker, the 24 machine, we've seen him be really quite dominant all season long, so look out for him before the race is over. He starts in 13th. Blade Timmons back there in 14th. Martin Plute will roll off 15th, and that is going to do it for your grid here at Kansas. So we're going to get set to rock and roll here at the Speedway. You get a good look as these cars extend down the back straightaway at all the drivers here tonight and their beautiful paint schemes as well. So 95 going to take us down into turns 3 and 4 for the first time under caution and bring us to the green flag for the first time here tonight. Pace car going to take that hard left-hand turn onto pit lane, and we're going to get set to go here at Kansas. Holding. They hit that restart zone. Green flag in the air. And we are underway here in the NORA B Series. Round of 8 from Kansas. They're going to go 2x2, and it turns 1 and 2. Ackerman on the low side, trying to pick off the 95 of Nichols here on the first lap. See if he can do it. Going to be an interesting race here. A lot of room to maneuver, and you're going to see a lot of these drivers. Oh, and Ackerman slides up the track. He's going to lose quite a bit of speed there. He's going to slide in front of the 22 of Slauson. Diving to the bottom is Engel and the 00 of Kendrick. They both try to survive that. Ackerman with a real good recovery, however, as he gets back up into that top spot. Zach Nichols starting to pull away, and you're going to see that gap continue to increase. Further on back, Kendrick trying to ride the low line. Engel up on the top side, trying to hold on, and we saw in practice a lot of drivers trying to run that top side, looking like the preferred line here at Kansas, as it is in real life. It is in the iRacing simulator that we're racing on here tonight, and it's sometimes a difficult challenge to get to that top side and ride very close to that wall, not wanting to damage the car. And when you see all the traffic on the top side, that even makes you want to go down to the bottom at times. So pay attention to all of these factors throughout the race as we continue to run green here at Kansas, already 3 laps into the race. A little bit of tire smoke there from the 29. Might have been an internet issue on his end. Holding on for the time being. Looking back from Drayton Cook here as he looks at Dalton Tucker. Tucker going to go to the low side now. Going to try and make his way up toward the front, and a great looking scheme right there. Tucker going to try to continue to make his way up through the field. Zach Nichols, your leader, pulling away from Bruce Ackerman and Slauson. Chad Engel still holding on in that 4th spot. The top 5 all single file for the time being. Corey Wharton making up the back end of this first group, but right behind them, Drayton Cook going to work on Keegan Bitzer. He's going to go all the way down to the bottom to block off the run of Tucker. That's going to cost him a bunch of speed in the corner. He's going to be able to slide up in front of Bitzer. We'll see if Bitzer gets a run and tries to hit the low side. And he will. The number 7 going to the low side. Can't quite get the quarter panel just yet. But he's going to continue to run the low side in 1 and 2. Great run for the number 7. He's going to try and pull a slide job right here. Really early to be doing that move. Bailing out is the 24, and losing a lot of speed is the 89. But everyone is all safe for the time being. They all get in a 4-car lineup right there. And we continue to run green. Stages tonight are 42, 42, 86. That's going to take us to that 170 lap mark. So we will get a yellow here at stage or at lap 42, which is quickly closing on in. As we look back, Dalton Tucker trying to go to the low side now. We haven't seen anyone really make that low side work outside of watching a slide job there. Just a moment ago, when the number 7 pulled up in front of the 89, that was Keegan Bitzer pulling up in front of Drayton Cook, able to hang on. But so far, we haven't really seen that bottom line organically work. And I'd be curious to see if that line maybe comes in as the tires start to wear a little bit, or if everyone just really is content hanging out on the top side. You'll hear a lot of the racers say that they enjoy maybe that middle groove as well. That top side, if you can figure it out, is definitely the fastest way here around Kansas Motor Speedway. Excuse me, Kansas Speedway. Real good action going on right here. Cook down to the bottom. He's got Tucker to the top side, trying to fend off a couple of these drivers. As we get a good look from down low. 7 up into the wall. He almost gets into the 89 of Cook. Bitzer holds it to the top side. Cook able to go down to the bottom. And Tucker riding on that top side as well. Here goes the 89 of Cook down to the bottom. He's trying to hold it on there. Prove me wrong. And they're going to collect Chad Engel in the 29 now. He's going to go to the top side. Up goes Cook. And now Bitzer down to the bottom. Bitzer down to the bottom, but he can't hold it there. You see the 24 of Tucker trying to hang on to the bottom. And he almost gets the quarter panel from Matthew George in the 28. Drivers continuing to have a strong start to the race. Zach Nichols, Bruce Ackerman, Todd Slauson, your top 3. Let's check in on them before too long. So you get a good look at Bruce Ackerman right here in that 69 Twix machine. The 22 of Todd Slauson, just a couple of car lengths back, but you look way further forward in that Christopher Bell-like scheme. Zach Nichols out far in front of this field, and he dominated last week, and proving that it was not just a road course that he could dominate on, but it's a couple different tracks. He's proven it tonight here at Kansas. We're on lap 15 of 170. You're looking at the 00 of Kendrick going into turns 3 and 4. He's trying to chase down those top 2 drivers of Ackerman and Slauson. Doing the best he can here tonight. And Dalton Tucker has pulled down pit lane. He might be done for the night, the 24 machine. In a pretty good spot. But he does not necessarily need a ton of points to advance. He might have called it a night here earlier. Had some kind of issue. We'll have to wait and see. One of the drivers who's really fallen off the table is Chad Engel. He's lost 7 positions. Started up there in 3rd. He's moved all the way back to 10th. And it's just a tough start for Chad Engel in the 29. We've seen him kind of have the speed in the short run, but not necessarily in these longer runs. And that'll be interesting to see with these stages if maybe Chad can learn from this first stage and create something in that 2nd and 3rd stage. And that's what is so cool about these stage races, is you can learn maybe a mistake or 2 that you made earlier in the race and then fix it on up for later in the run as you head toward the end of the race. You see the gap, 2.5 seconds from 1st to 2nd. That's Zach Nichols back to Bruce Ackerman. You see the gap right there as the 95 is going to cut across your screen. Here comes the 69 and the 22. We'll see if they work together a little bit. We've talked about the draft in a couple of these different tracks. In Kansas, one of the bigger speedways. You hear drivers sometimes talk about it almost feeling like a plate track at times, and how you're able to run so wide open, and that's more prevalent in the Cup cars than it is in these Xfinity cars, so they will drive a little bit differently here as the race goes on, especially as the tires wear. Now we're into the second half of this run. So let's ride along with your leader, Zach Nichols, for lap around here. You see Nichols having to get off the throttle right there, entering the corner, but able to get onto it so quickly. You see him really working that wheel through the middle of the corner. Good look at your leader, Zach Nichols, right here. As we continue to run green, I would expect to see an all-green flag. Stage number 1, I'd be surprised if we have a caution here at this point. Keegan Bitzer and Dalton Tucker have both called it a night and come down pit lane. And Zach Nichols continuing to lead here at Kansas. Let's run through your running order of these top 10 drivers. Zach Nichols out there in first in the 95. He's looked very strong all race long. In second is Bruce Ackerman, and right behind him, Todd Slauson in the 22. And what a great shot right there by our camera crew here tonight. Good job by them already here early in stage number 1. Ryan Kendricks sits in fourth. He's picked up 2 spots since the start of the race. Corey Wharton started in 5th, and he currently sits in 5th. The lone Canadian here in the NORA B Series. Drayton Cook holding off Matthew George in the 28, and we'll stay locked in on this battle for the time being. It's 28 trying to chase down the 89. You see that red spoiler. A couple of the drivers will have that red windshield banner with the red spoiler, signifying that they are one of the playoff drivers. And that's a pretty cool look right there. I must admit, it's very cool that they do that here in the NORA B Series. I know they don't do it in the real life NASCAR Cup Series anymore. You remember when they would do the yellow windshield banner with the, I believe it was a yellow spoiler. So pretty cool to see the NORA B Series doing it here. And Drayton Cook, Corey Wharton, and Matthew George all kind of grouped on up here and all trying to see if they can make it work as they head down the front straightaway. Cook trying to get underneath the 20 of Wharton. I don't think he's going to do it just yet. We'll see if he can slide up, and he cannot. George the outside now. We'll see how that outside works here in turns 3 and 4. 28 with a great run on the outside, and you see it right there. The 89 battling back now through the middle of the corner. That high line looking so good. And then off the end of the corner, Cook in the 89 able to just hang on, and get back on that accelerator and really make it work for him here tonight. But as soon as we say that, 28 of George with a monster of a run, he is going to sneak on by And he's got Corey Wharton in his sights now, as that pass was for 6th position. All these drivers continuing to mix it on up. Wharton holding off the attacking George for the time being. Cook going to slide back up into that drafting line. These three continue to battle, all just completely locked up together. It is interesting, we're seeing this a little bit. Maybe one of the drivers trying to save their tires. Maybe some of them not. These guys seemingly starting to figure it on out here. We mentioned drivers maybe burn up the tires a little bit later in this run. I'd expect everyone comes down pit lane and we see everyone take 4 tires and fuel at the stage break. So you can kind of run those tires as hard as you want for the time being. And further on back, Chad Engel and Brian Howell mix it on up here. Chad Engel up to 9th. So he's only lost 6 positions from the start of the race. And Chad, one of those drivers, just needs a lucky break and he'll be in a good spot. A little bit of damage on the 71 of Brian Howell. Good looking paint scheme right there. That throwback McDonald's paint scheme. We haven't seen that one here. As the Team Bacon machine of Howell. In 10th, the final car running for the time being. Bitzer and Tucker pulled it behind the wall. Blade Timmons did not take the green flag. So that leaves us our 10 drivers here tonight. Nichols, Ackerman, Slauson, Wharton, Cook, George, Kendrick, Powell, and Engel. Speaking of Kendrick, he's going to lose a couple of positions right here as Matthew Jordan and Drayton Cook go flying by. And Drayton Cook, speaking of flying, he's all over the back bumper of Corey Wharton. So they continue to ride here around Kansas Speedway. The 89 continuing to get to the back bumper, but can't seem to find his way past the number 20. Corey Wharton doing a good job of just running his race, staying cool, calm, and collected, which is a lot easier said than done with the car bearing down on you in the rearview mirror just like Matthew George and Drayton Cook are. Brian Howell's going to enter pit lane here. We'll see if he's going to call it a night, or maybe he's pitting before the stage break. Try a little bit of strategy here. Definitely wouldn't be surprised with that one. You see him coming down pit lane. And flash it back to this battle. Matthew George to the inside. Can't quite get the quarter panel to 20 as the 20 now drifts back up the track. And Corey Wharton doing a very good job right now. He's climbed all the way up to 4th. Started the race in 5th. And he's just fending off Matthew George and Drayton Cook. And it's always so funny how no matter how the race starts, how spread out everyone gets, it always seems like we find a way to have a battle at the end of stage number 1 and 2. And we got one right here. It's going to be a 3-car battle. They're battling for 4th. And boy, is it a good one. See right there, Wharton in 4th, Cook in 5th, George, who you're looking at right there, in 6th. All these drivers split up by 0.2 of a second. Big run right here for the 89. So he's going to pull a slide job in the 20, but here comes the 20 with a crossover move, heading back to the bottom. We'll see if he can hold it there on the bottom, approaching the final lap of stage number 1. Wharton gets back to the inside all the way to the 89, gets him up into the outside retaining wall. Cook not going to be happy about that. George going to go door to door with him now. George slides up, Cook down to the bottom. And Cook might try and pull a slider of his own right here. You see him losing a little bit of ground, trying to hold that car down on the bottom of the racetrack as they come off of turn 4. And what a finish to stage number 1. Looks like the 20 machine gonna hold on to it.
I don't know why you can't hear Earl. Can you hear me? Did not hear him call that caution. Need you to check your radio connections. Check the one on your headset, on your headboard actually, on your left-hand side and on your headrest. 1, 2, 3, loud and clear. You got a good copy? 10-4.
You hear the communication going on right there between Matthew George and his team. Trying to get everything squared away, but your stage 1 winner, this guy no stranger to victory lane, no stranger to the checkered flag, the 95 of Zach Nichols, who absolutely dominated last week, continuing to dominate once again here tonight at Kansas. So through stage number 1 here, back under the yellow flag, we're going to see everyone head to pit lane here to get 4 tires and 2 cans of Sunoco race fuel. iRacing does not render each individual pit crew, so you'll see these cars seemingly get jacked up on one side, get jacked up on the other side, and then pull off a pit lane. Everyone coming into their boxes here. And there go the right sides on every single machine. Chad Engel, the last into his box. And you see him in that 3rd box after starting 3rd. Kind of moved pretty far on back. And a good race off of pit road. Looks like it's going to be won by the 95. 69 of Ackerman right behind. And the 20 machine of Corey Wharton with an interesting strategy here, holding at the end of pit lane, letting everyone else fly on by. We'll be interested interested to see what that was about. So under our first stage caution, no organic yellows in that stage. You're going to get a look at every driver's best lap of the night here on the ticker. The top of your screen, and you see right there, Zach Nichols with a 30.8. Far and away faster than a lot of these other drivers. We'll see if that continues, or if these other drivers start to figure something out, maybe try to copy what he's doing. Make it work for them. You're going to see the drivers start to line up 2 by 2 here. So we get set to go green once again from Kansas Speedway. You'll take a good look inside the cockpit of a lot of these cars. So we're going to get set to roll green once again. From here at Kansas. Stage number 2 set to get underway. Going to take the green on lap 47 out of 170. Green flag in the air, and we are back underway. Good jump of the 95 right there, and back behind him, Todd Slauson and Bruce Ackerman going to go side by side in turns 1 and 2. Slauson to the bottom, Ackerman to the top. Looks like Slauson got a much better corner entry. He's going to use that to slide up in front of the 69 and stay there for the time being. But here comes Ackerman back to the bottom side. He's going to try and pull the crossover on the 22 now. Not able to hold on to it just yet. They're going to be side by side of the stripe. Looks like the 22 just narrowly edges out the 69 on that lap. Oh, and very close right there between Ackerman and Kendrick, sliding up in front of each other. And look at who it is. Chad Engel back up there, starting to battle even further. He's up to 5th now, started 3rd. We saw him drop all the way back to 10th or so. He's on his way back towards the front. So good to see Chad with an adjustment. Maybe making it work a little more. Car's going flying down the back straight with a lot of speed and a big long backstretch for a lot of these drivers to set up that pass maybe in turn 3 or 4. You see the gap already. Nichols starting to pull away here from Slauson. You can see that gap on the ticker at the top of your screen. top 5 starting to single file on out here. You're on lap 50 of 170. Ackerman trying to go after Slauson once again. And you see Ackerman just about half a lane down off the top. Maybe a lane down off the top. And just able to get such a good run right there is 69. But a lot of these drivers, we're seeing them get excellent runs and then kind of stall on out once they get to the back quarter panel. And that's a testament to this dirty air we talk about it week in and week out, how dirty air affects the cars. And if you're not familiar with what dirty air is, Zach Nichols out in front, your leader. The air is very clean in front of his car, so it's going to be similar to what the car would experience in a wind tunnel, that kind of perfect air, so to speak. Todd Slauson in the 22 experiencing a little bit of this, but if you're in the 69, the 00, or even the 29, that air in front of you is being broken up by the car, and at a certain point, it creates that draft, like you might be seeing the 69 right now. But at another point, like what Chad Engel might be experiencing a little bit more, it creates almost like a wake turbulence that a plane will cause, and it disrupts the air, and then the air doesn't roll over the car how it should at its optimal best, that kind of wind tunnel spot. That's what dirty air is. It slows the car down. Sometimes it'll make the car tight, meaning the car does not want to turn. So the car will want to just drift towards the right when you want it to turn left. And it also makes it very hard to pass with those things contributing. So all of those things cause from that dirty air, and you're seeing a little bit of it right now. We talked about how Kansas, one of the bigger, faster tracks. Speaking of bigger and faster, the 29, once again with a great start to the restart, to the short run. I think he's falling on off. I'm not sure if he's unable to use the top side or quite what's going on with the 29, but he's dropping all the way towards the back again, and he will be the last driver in this line. So everyone else single file in front of him. Corey Wharton in the 20. We saw him pull over at the end of pit lane. Might have had a penalty as well. We'll have to check on that for you. But he's back there in 8th. He's trying to snake his way up through the field as well. So we're going to take this moment, while there's a little bit of a lull in the action, so to speak, and let you guys at home watching crank it up. So turn those speakers up, blast your headphones, and listen to the sweet sound of racing, brought to you by the NORA B Series. Checking back in on your race leader here. Zach Nichols in the 95, continuing to run a nearly perfect race so far here tonight. And it looks like it is his race to lose as he crosses the line for lap 61 out of 170. That gap opening up so much further with every lap that passes, and back behind him, it's an angry hornet's nest of cars. Lawson leading Ackerman and Kendrick. All those three drivers trying to mix it on up. Looking on, it's Matthew George and Drayton Cook in the background of your screen. And don't forget about Corey Wharton right there in the number 20. Just slowly looking in, just lurking back there. Maybe trying to save his tires. Try to get a good run in the second half of stage number 2. All these drivers continuing to behave for the time being. You see the single file train positions 2nd through 6th. Corey Wharton in 7th, looking onward, trying to catch this itty bitty pack. And the 69 all over the 22's rear bumper. Can't quite figure it out just yet how to get by. Or maybe setting them on up. Or maybe just content running like this for a little while. Drivers trying to figure out what lane is going to work. And it's amazing that everyone's stacked up like this. And Zach Nichols just continuing to pull away in that first position. Almost out of the screen is Nichols right there. You don't even see him on your screen when we flash back to this second half of the field. Or this first half of the field, really. You'll get a good look down this back straightaway here. How far that gap is. Now 3.7 and opening. We're going to stay locked in on this battle. The biggest one on the racetrack, Ryan Kendrick, all the way to the back bumper of Ackerman. Can't seem to do anything with it. And that's kind of the story here early, is how hard it is to pass. It'd be interesting to hear from some of the drivers at some point, whether they're talking to their crew chiefs or what have you, as to whether they're finding it hard to pass as well, or maybe it's just a little bit of confirmation bias up here in the group, in the booth. Starting to get a little bit dicier. Drivers trying to figure out a different line. Maybe something works a little bit faster for these guys. You're especially seeing it with Matthew George back there in the 28 machine. Coming off the corner just a little bit differently with every single lap. Trying to figure out what the best way to get off the corner is. That's where this outside line is really make or break is that corner exit. We've seen against the inside line, that corner exit is where the money's to be made. And continuing to figure out what's the best way to get off the corner is going to be paramount as we head toward the end of stage number 2 and head toward that longer stage number 3. So we talk about the race being broken up into 3 stages, but really it's almost 4 parts because stages 1 and 2 are their own separate entities, and then that third stage being almost like 2 stages in one provides us an interesting little gap into the minds of a lot of these drivers. Some drivers might want to think about pit strategy now because that might be the only way to beat Zach Nichols. I'll see if some of the drivers can figure something out before this one is said and done. Drivers that started the race but have pulled it behind the wall: Keegan Bitzer and Dalton Tucker. Both have called it a night. Blade Timmons, we did not get to see the 23 car tonight, unfortunately. And Brian Howell coming down pit lane here. You see him stationary in his pit box, and Chad Engel in a little bit of trouble here. It looks like he might try to come down pit lane as well, maybe stay out after the fact and get that lap back, and he will continue to ride along that racing surface. So mark me down as incorrect. This field crosses the line, lap 74 of 170, and we're quickly approaching that stage 2 break, and for a lot of these drivers might be needed, as it can get at times kind of frustrating to drive in a pack like this. You're all stacked up and you feel like, yeah, I'm faster than the guy in front of me, but I just can't figure out how to pass him. And that might be in a lot of drivers' minds as this race goes on, and that's key to just stay patient, figure out what's working for you, what's not, and not lose your cool. So 2nd through 4th, all locked on up here. It's Slauson, Ackerman, Kendrick, and George, this group of drivers you're watching. And Cook not too far off in the distance. Ryan Powell is snuck by Corey Wharton in the number 20. It looks like the 20 has a little bit of damage to that right front fender. Don't recall seeing the number 20 get up into the wall, but it sure looks like he did. Or maybe into an opposing car. But the number 20 has fallen off in terms of pace. 3 spots down from when he started. And he's fallen all the way back to 8th currently. Back up to this battle. Ryan Kendrick trying to chase down Ackerman. Still unable to do it, as they're all going to run single file, but we'll see if things get a little bit more heated. We saw it in stage number 1. Wouldn't be surprised if we see it again in stage number 2. This battle started to pick on up before the end of the stage. Drivers trying to get as many of these stage points as they can. They carry over and then get you ever closer to that championship 4 And here in the round of 8, where it gets cut in half from 8 drivers to 4, every point necessary. And you see some of these drivers with those O's next to their name, and none of them in this group from 2nd to 5th. So all these drivers all racing 4 points. So that just even shows you how much more important these positions are to be gained and lost. As Todd Slauson continuing to do well. Matthew George in a little bit of trouble. He's in the grass. And he's going to get off the pace. Lose a couple of positions there. And maybe, just maybe, we'll lose the draft. As that happened, looks like Ackerman heading to the low side. He's going to try and take the position away from Slauson, and he will. Ackerman going to hold on to that 2nd spot. Slauson going to try and battle on back and see if he can't snag it here in the next 3 laps. And the 00 continuing to look on. Kendrick just with nothing to do for the time being, and I tell you, he's having a good race so far. It's the 89 of Drayton Cook as we're looking at Slauson poke his nose under Ackerman. Isn't going to be able to go just yet, but he's definitely seeing where he's faster. But back to my point, Drayton Cook having himself a great race. He's up 4 positions from the start of the night. And he's definitely shown he has the pace to keep up with these front guys. We'll see if that's going to continue throughout the night, and maybe, just maybe, he figures out a little bit of long run speed. We've seen him be very quick on the short run. Zach Nichols, we've kind of neglected to talk about him just because it's almost an afterthought here of how good he's been driving. Leading all these laps with an incredible pace. And just continuing to dominate here at Kansas. He's going to cross the line on lap 84, and that will bring out our stage number 2 caution. The rest of the top 5, Ackerman, Slauson, Kendrick, and Cook. Your top 5 at the end of stage number 2. Zach Nichols, your stage 2 winner. And we are under the caution flag for the 2nd time tonight, both due to the stage breaks. You see just how much quicker Nichols was than Ackerman there at the end of the run. You get a good look at it right here. Ignoring that final lap that was under caution, you see the gap just continuing to increase for Nickel over each lap, and definitely something to keep in mind as this race continues. So here we go, down pit lane for this stage 2 break. I would imagine everyone taking 4 tires and fuel once again. Probably no surprises here, but if someone were to take 2 tires, this would be the time to do it, because you could come in and get 4 during that pit entry under the green flag conditions. Speaking of 2 tires, it looks like we might have our first taker. Corey Wharton gonna win the race off of pit lane. And he's going to be your new race leader. Zach Nichols back there in second. So we'll see if this pays off for the number 20. You're going to see right there the stint length. Chad Engel, a little bit interesting of a strategy right there. Everyone else going the rest of stage number 2. Let's take a look at the winners on pit road, pit stop times. You see right there taking 2 tires with a 7.2 second stop. And a little bit of fuel for Wharton at the end of stage number 1 as well, under the caution flag conditions. Corey Wharton going to be your new race leader after a 2-tire stop on pit road. We talked about it, that if you're going to make a 2-tire pit stop, it almost makes sense to do it now, because you can go change 4 tires here in the second half of the stage. But we might see some guys go gas and go. We talked about how cold the track is, right around 70 degrees when we hit the green flag. And it looks like Wharton actually going to go back down pit lane. Just wanted to lead the lap. But you do start to think about tire wear and the heat. Obviously, things a little bit different here on an oval race as opposed to maybe a road or a dirt race, as the tires will wear pretty moderately, especially at a track like Kansas that has smoother surface, but still one of the more abrasive on the NASCAR circuit. But paramount to keep them in check, and I don't know if you can quite afford to take 2 tires or no tires in that pit stop during this stage number 3. So the field's going to be 2x2 here as we're going to get set to go stage number 3. That lengthier stage, so buckle up, and we got some fun coming your way. Lights off on the Ford Mustang pace car. It's going to take a left-hand turn onto pit lane, and we'll get set to go green here in stage number 3. You see 8 cars still running. Correction, 7 cars still running. Final answer is going to be 8. As we get set for stage number 3. And oh, that's going to be trouble for the 69 of Ackerman. He's going to get spun around a little bit. Hangs on to it for the time being. Cook all the way down to the bottom. What a move for the 89 right there. He's going to try and slide up in front of the 69. Don't know if he'll do it just yet. And he will. And we have a little tandem action going on here now. Couple of groupings, Slauson and Kendrick, Cook and Ackerman. George trying to join the mix, and Corey Wharton just kind of out on his lonesome for the time being. Slauson and Kendrick trying to work together, maybe chase down Zach Nichols, use each other a little bit. Maybe draft, save an extra couple laps of fuel, and change your pit strategy accordingly. That'll be very interesting as this race goes on. Whether we see any drivers try some kind of admittedly weird pit strategy. Will anyone try a severe undercut? So we went green on about lap 85. Going to take us to 170. So let's say we went green on lap 90. That's going to take us 80 laps. So 40 from 90 takes us to 130. I would expect pit stops to be right in that area, splitting that third and final stage in half. So here in just under 40 laps, I would expect to see drivers down pit lane. The grouping of Kendrick and Slauson was hanging on for the time being. Kendrick has made his way past Slauson. And now up into that second spot is Slauson under attack here from Cook and Ackerman. .38 to 42 laps would sound like the pit window. Yes, indeed. For a driver trying to split that third stage in half, and really that's one of the easier ways to do it. Whether we'll see everyone do that, obviously they can go at least 42 on fuel, if not a little bit more. So we might actually see some drivers kind of stay out as long as possible and then get those fresh Goodyear Eagles on the car and be able to really work them for those final 30, maybe less than 30 laps if we see someone stay out for an extended period of time. Maybe we see Zach Nichols stay out. Seemingly very, very comfortable on those old tires. So it would not shock me if we see Nichols able to compete or stay out for much longer than the rest of the competition. You see that top 5 right there and their manufacturers that don't really want to work. Last lap, you see it right there. Nichols and Kendrick so close right there. Ackerman actually faster than Nichols here early in this run. So pay attention to those lap times when we switch in a little bit. Ackerman just sliding up in front of Slauson. Slauson giving a little bit of room right there. Probably could have ran the 69 out of room in that Twix machine. But Todd Slauson, the 22, one of the cleanest drivers in the NORA series, and that's got him a third place spot in the standings. Trying to improve on it here tonight. Racing against Ackerman and Kendrick in front of him. And George and Wharton behind. All those drivers, your points drivers. Really good look at this battle between George and Wharton. Once again, Wharton able to get to that back bumper. Not able to do much more. And you got to be careful here in this third stage so you don't burn up those tires here early, battling for a position like that. It's even more critical in this third and final stage, saving as many tires, as much tire as possible for this longer run. And you might not be as fast in the short run, but as laps start to tick on by and drivers in front of you start having that right front tire wear out, you're able to just pick up a 10th here, a 10th there, and they add up fast. So patience is definitely going to be key here in this one. Lap 103 out of 170, and now it's going to be a great time for the final half of this race to get a look at our fan cam. Various cameras placed all over the racetrack to get you a good idea of what it looks like being a fan here at Kansas Speedway and watching these drivers trek around this 1.5 mile oval. Nichols already out to a 3-second gap in just about 15 to 20 laps-ish since the restart for stage number 2. And that is absolutely insane, the amount of gap that he's able to put on the rest of these drivers. Looking in at George and Slauson. So coming up quick on the 69 of Ackerman. I'm not sure what happened to Bruce. Let's see if we can get a quick replay for you. As the 69 coming off of turn number 4, trying to chase down the 00, gets up into the wall. And that just kills a ton of speed. And you see the other two drivers slip on by. So we flash you back here live. Ackerman trying to hold off Corey Wharton now. And we talked about patience and how key that is. We didn't even mention keeping your car clean. But especially in this third stage where you need the clean car. Because you're going to be out there running so many green flag laps. We haven't experienced a caution here tonight. And at the way the race is going, it'd be hard to say there's one coming. So keeping your car as clean as possible. Absolute necessity here at Kansas. Your leader still, Zach Nichols in the 95, continuing to pull away. Out to a 3-second gap on second place, Ryan Kendrick. You see the gap right there as they come down the front straightaway. Slauson and George, your closest battle on track. And let's run through the field here before we approach the green flag pit stops here. Zach Nichols, your race leader, has completely dominated, has not led every single lap, but pretty much has, all outside of 1 or 2 under the caution flag conditions. But Zach Nichols won last week at the Roval, and he's proving that he can do it on the oval as well. Having a great night tonight, and what else can you say about that? Just continuing to lay down not necessarily these blisteringly fast lap times that he's able to pull away, but it's so consistent. It's always these 30-second lap times. Even as these tires continue to wear, he's still able to make it work and still get these incredible lap times. Ryan Kendrick is the biggest challenger for Nichols right now. The number 00 had a couple quick laps there at the end of stage number 2. Actually, one of the faster ones. And if anyone is going to catch Nichols, it's going to be Kendrick, who's gained 4 spots since the start of the race. And you see the R next to his name, Ryan Kendrick, racing 4 points here. He's currently scored tied for 7th. So good point snipe would be absolutely huge for Kendrick, as he's going to try and leapfrog George, Ackerman, and Engel to get into that top 4. Todd Slauson's riding right behind in that number 22 machine. And Slauson really just having a pretty standard night for him. We mentioned Slauson needing some kind of luck at times. And while luck would be good for him here, 3rd place finish, not too shabby either. As Slauson sitting 3rd in points, he just needs a couple really good races, a win, and he's in. And that would kind of take the monkey off his back. But he's in front of Sean Briscoe and Chad Engel, those his closest 2 competitors. Matthew George back there in the 28 machine, also racing for those drivers' points. And George in that 7th position, tied with Kendrick. So the more positions Kendrick can get out in front of George, the more points that George is going to have to make up in these next 2 races. Reminder that it is Texas and Martinsville, the next 2. Before we head to Phoenix for that championship race. Corey Wharton, the Canadian driver, back there in 5th. Keeps finding his way to get to 5th. He started off in 5th. He moved to 5th through stage number 2. Moved up to 4th there at the end. And he made his way back to 5th after a little bit of contact with the wall. Drayton Cook and Bruce Ackerman, they're going to mix it on up here back behind. Cook in the 89. The highest Chevy here tonight. The only other Chevy that saw the track was Brian Powell's machine, and he has since pulled that thing behind the wall. Bruce Ackerman in the 69. He's lost 5 spots. Started in 2nd, back to 7th. A little bit of damage to the right side of that machine after touching the wall. Be tough to come back from. And that is all the drivers currently running. All the drivers that have pulled it behind the wall. Chad Engel, Brian Powell, Brian Howell, Keegan Bitzer, and Dalton Tucker have all called it a night and gone to pack up the hauler just a little bit early to get things squared away. You mentioned pit stop probably coming around lap 130. Be on the lookout in these next couple laps as we approach that 42 to 45, that fuel window here tonight. I would imagine maybe we see at least one driver try to undercut, try to get on pit road and run as many laps as he can on that second stint. Long race, still a lot that can happen here. Nichols has opened up to a 5-second gap. At second place, Ryan Kendrick, and you see him under attack from Todd Slauson. Slauson with a beauty of a slide job right there. We'll see if he can hold on to it coming out of turn 4, and he will. 22 with an excellent pass right there. Little dirt track racing for Mr. Slauson as he slides up in front of the 00 and makes it stick before hitting that outside retaining wall. Such a hard move to pull off, but when you can do it, boy, is it fun to watch. And Todd Slauson did it well right there. No takers down pit lane just yet. And I'll be curious if one goes, if everyone else goes, or if we see a variance of strategies here tonight. Looking back at Matthew George and Corey Wharton. They're trying to mix it on up. And Wharton, we've said it so many times here tonight. If you're playing bingo, you're definitely going to get a bingo off this. But that dirty air just looks so tough down that back straightaway, and especially in corner entry. Just not able to carry the speed through the corners that you need to get that run off for Corey Wharton. And he's not the only one. We've seen other drivers really struggle with it here tonight, but Corey Wharton, the one currently doing it. Now Drayton Cook looking to attack. Bruce Ackerman has fallen off the pace with that damage to his machine, trying to make his way back toward the front. Check in with your leader once again. Right along with the 95. For another lap here around Kansas Speedway. You especially see it right there, just how quick he's able to get back onto the throttle. Is Mr. Nichols. You're not going to see a lot of that, really. Drayton Cook might be coming to pit lane, and he is getting 4 tires and service is the 89. We mentioned the undercut strategy. It looks like we have our first taker. Drayton Cook on pit lane. He's going to go a lap down to Nichols here. But we'll see if he can't battle back before the night is said and done. Ryan Kendrick and Bruce Ackerman also going down pit lane. Looks like Todd Slauson had just joined. So we mentioned lap 130 kind of being that mark for guys to head down pit road. Looks like a lot of these guys choosing to go that method. Corey Wharton is staying out. Matthew George entering pit lane. Ryan Kendrick is coming off. That's going to put everyone a lap down other than Corey Wharton and Zach Nichols. Both of those guys have not come down pit lane just yet. Matthew George will still be on the lead lap for the time being. He'll go a lap down as Nichols will come around. And Nichols actually on pit lane. Nichols and Wharton both down pit lane, and we're seeing very similar strategies here. George could inherit the lead. Looks like it's going to be Slauson for the time being. And now with 38 laps to go-ish, Todd Slauson going to inherit the lead. Excuse me. He's going to come all the way back around still, so Nichols and Wharton might be driving off to the sunset. We'll see if both take 4 tires and fuel. Looks like they will. And can Slauson catch the 95 on the back straightaway? It is going to be tight right now. Nichols trying to hold on. Slauson at full speed. He's got help in the form of Drayton Cook. We'll see if those two can push up to Nichols in the 95, who's entering turn 3. Gap between first and second there from high up above Kansas Speedway in the spotter stand. Those 7 drivers back on the lead lap. Your top 7 as they run. Zach Nichols in first, Todd Slauson second, Drayton Cook third, Ryan Kendrick fourth, Bruce Ackerman in fifth, Matthew George sixth, and Corey Wharton in seventh. That's rounding out your field very quickly here. As we continue race green here at Kansas. Approaching 30 laps to go. A lot of single file racing. A lot of these gaps starting to take shape here. Remember what we mentioned at the end of stages number 1 and 2. They always find a way to get right back in the mix with each other. So don't think we've seen the end of a lot of these battles. I think they're going to continue, especially for a couple of these guys racing 4 points and needing every position as they can get. Ryan Kendrick starting to close the gap just ever so slightly here on Todd Slauson, and really got to think about those tires that you just got, keeping them conserved, because we still have quite a long way to go. 30 laps to be specific. So don't be surprised if we see a lot of these guys kind of ride right behind him for a little while. And then as these tires continue to wear, jumping out alongside, or maybe even in front of them before the race is done. Corey Wharton kind of sticking his nose in here with Ackerman and George. Saw Wharton drift towards the back for a little bit there. Looks like he's made his way up to the top spot. Or excuse me, up with the group battling for 5th here tonight. .69 up to the top side, and he will defend. Ackerman with a good job right there to hold off the run of George and the run of the number 20 as well. Back to the top side in turns 1 and 2. Big run right here by the 28. That's Matthew George trying to move on in and take the position away from Bruce Ackerman. Jump into that top 5 once again, and he's going to get spun on out into that infield grass with 26 laps to go. He'll bring it down to pit lane, and we will stay green after that, because he spun on that infield grass. And let's take another look at that one. Coming off of turn 4, and actually the 28 just getting up into the wall. And then a good save right there to keep it from going around and losing any more time. But the 28 of Matthew George with a devastating blow right there. We just mentioned him maybe jumping to the top 5. He's now back to 7th. And without a draft, the 28 going to do his best to hang on. Corey Wharton now going to work on Bruce Ackerman. 24 laps to go here at Kansas. Zach Nichols continuing to lead by a pretty hefty margin over Todd Slauson in second. 9.7 seconds to be exact, and that is just absolutely bonkers, as that Toyota Supra looks very clean and very fast here at Kansas. Kendrick going to go to work on Slauson. He was just in second. He's going to give it on up, and you see it right there. Another bit of a slide job there through the corners. Kendrick slides up in front of the 22. 22, not enough speed to carry the bottom with that Xfinity machine. It looks like Slauson kind of fallen off a little bit. Makes you wonder how much of his tires he just used in that run, and does he have any left for the final 20 laps here in stage number 3 and the race. Battle for second, seemingly cooling off for the time being. Kendrick holding on to second strong. Lawson behind him, but now Drayton Cook's starting to peek on into the mix. He's got Bruce Ackerman with him, but Ackerman hot on his tail from the 69. Or excuse me, the 20 of Corey Wharton, the 69 being driven by Ackerman. You see the gap over the past 5 laps, only separated by a couple thousandths of a second. With 16 to go. Bruce Ackerman trying to hold off Corey Wharton here at the finish. Corey Wharton down to the low side. He's going to sneak by Drayton Cook, who gives up a pair of positions to Wharton and Ackerman. And keep in mind, Cook racing for owner's points, the other two racing for those driver's points. Maybe a classy move right there with the 89 to let the drivers racing for the drivers championship sneak on by. Continue to gain a couple extra spots, extra points as you head toward Texas Motor Speedway next weekend. Laps to go from here at Kansas. Now 13 drivers counting down the laps, trying to jockey for those extra 1 or 2 positions as we head toward that checkered flag. Laps to go, and let's check in with our race leader, Zach Nichols. Continuing to dominate, weaving in and through traffic, it would appear. So he's put Matthew George a lap down, and that leaves, 6 cars still on the lead lap. Everyone else has gone to the lap down or pulled it behind the wall. Eleven laps to go. Nichols going to cross the stripe for 10 to go. Single-digit laps remaining to go after this revolution of Kansas Speedway. Kendrick going to cross the start-finish line with Slauson on his tail. Ackerman following suit. He's got Wharton with him and Cook just behind. Slauson trying to reel back in Ryan Kendrick. See if he's going to be able to do it here with 9 and soon to be 8 laps to go before this one is said and done. Slauson trying to go to work, find just a couple tenths of a second to be faster. If you look at last lap times now across the top of your screen. Get a good gauge at how fast everyone's going. And you see it right there. Slauson just barely faster than Zach Nichols, the leader. But he's got to sneak by the 00 first. Ryan Kendrick holding on, trying to get those driver's points, as many as he can. Trying to hold off Slauson and Ackerman from collecting them from him. Six laps to go here at Kansas. Laps winding down here in stage number 3 as we've just crossed over the hour 35 mark of time spent out on the track. So drivers a little bit wary at this point in the night. And you see all the big gap. Matthew George, that 1 lap down. He's hoping for some kind of yellow flag because then he would be the lucky dog, get his lap back. He'd have a shot to race with this little group for the win. 5 laps to go. Kendrick holding on. Slauson back behind him. Nichols continuing to run away with it. Good look from the chopper cam up above. The gap between Kendrick and Slauson. And a good little race going on between Wharton and Ackerman. Both trying to give everything they have. See if they have anything left in the tank for the other driver. So far, not looking that good. Top 5 as they run. 3 laps to go here at Kansas. It's Nichols, Kendrick, Slauson, your top 3. Ackerman and Wharton rounding out your top 5. Nichols going to hit the stripe. 2 laps to go here at Kansas. He'll get the white flag next time by, and barring any kind of caution flag in this one, looks like it's in the bag for him, as he's opened up a huge gap on second place. You saw it when we flipped cameras. Almost half the racetrack. 13 seconds of around a 30-second lap. That is indeed almost half the racetrack. White flag gonna be in the air now. Final lap here at Kansas, presented by the NORA B Series, and we'll follow along with your race leader, Zach Nichols. See if he can't bring home that checkered flag. What a great run for the 95. Absolutely dominated all race long. And coming around the final corner, gonna drift it as he did in the Roval. He will do it again here Ryan Kendrick trying to hold on and get that second place finish. He comes off of turn 4. Looks like he will. Todd Slauson right behind him. Corey Wharton behind, just sneaking by Bruce Ackerman. And Drayton Cook crosses the line in 6th. Zach Nichols going to celebrate once again with that drift party in turns 3 and 4. And now it's donut time in that infield area. The area that we saw Matthew George get pushed across. And that was just an unfortunate couple of happenings right there. Going to burn it down for our fans here tonight. And let's run you through the results of the race. Here in the NORA B Series round of 8, the first race of this 3-race round. Zach Nichols, your race winner. Ryan Kendrick comes away second. Todd Slauson in third. In fourth, Corey Wharton. In fifth place is going to be Bruce Ackerman. Sixth is Drayton Cook. Seventh, Matthew George. Eighth, Chad Engel. And then stick with me here. Ninth, Brian Powell. 10th, Brian Howell. Keegan Bitzer comes away 11th. Dalton Tucker pulled down pit road early and finishes 12th. The other drivers did not take the green flag here tonight. 170 laps down. It was a shame we couldn't see Blade Timmons start the race here. That would have been fun to watch him drive in the number 23 machine. So that's going to do it for all of us over here. That's been a presentation of the NORA B Series round of 8, and what a great win for Mr. Zach Nichols here tonight. And he's had back-to-back weeks of just absolute domination. First at the Roval and now here at Kansas. And you just cannot be disappointed with a run like that as a driver. And he's going to cause a little bit of trouble for the rest of these guys. You see Kendrick, Slauson, Wharton, and Ackerman all battling for points, but they all get the wins stolen away from him. As Zach Nichols takes it and everyone else does not have a win and in. And that's better for a lot of those drivers on that cusp of points. Looking at your top 4, Sean Briscoe in 4th, Chad Engel in 5th, Bruce Ackerman in 6th. So those drivers really going to benefit off of not having, or excuse me, they're not going to benefit from not having a winner, because then that pushes them even further down the list. However, drivers like Sean Briscoe, Todd Slauson in 4th and 3rd respectively, they'd love to see that as well, because you're not going to have a driver in 8th win a race and jump and knock one of you guys out. So into the booth now is the 00 of Ryan Kendrick here tonight. Ryan, talk about a second place finish for you here in this round of 8 and how important that is for you, especially as we look at the points right now. You're back there in 7th, trying to make your way into that top 4. How good does that feel to have a second place finish here tonight?
Yeah, really good. I was coming out 7 points back, and my first stage wasn't that good. I finished 7th, and I made up some of those points back in the second, and then um made up even more there uh going to the end. So hopefully I gained a little bit. Um, and if so, that'd be a really good boost heading into the next 2 weeks.
Absolutely. So the next 2 weeks, Texas and Martinsville. Either of those tracks really suit you, or are you going to have to really battle in those next 2 races?
Um, Probably just gonna have to battle the next 2 races, especially at Texas, maybe. It's kind of like here, but on the bottom instead of the top. And then I think Martinsville is the one after that, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Then that's just gonna be, I don't know, like probably a mess there. So yeah, I think if I can make it through those next 2 weeks, though, I have a good shot at Phoenix. It's one of my favorite tracks.
Absolutely. And a great finish to the season that would be. So take us through the race from your perspective here tonight. You mentioned that this is the track that you have to run the top. Were you comfortable up there on the top, or how did that work for you all night long?
At the beginning of the stage, or at the beginning of the race, I hit the wall maybe a half a dozen times in stage 1 alone, and then after that, I just kinda got used to it, and from there on out, I maybe hit it maybe 3 times the rest of the race, so, yeah, I mean, it's not many tracks you run the top, but here it's only the top, and I guess you gotta have to be used to it at some point to have a good run here.
Absolutely. Well, you had a great run, second place finish here tonight, and the floor is yours. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to here on the broadcast?
Um, yeah, I'll shout out to, Josh and everyone that, puts this league on and you for broadcasting it.
Absolutely. Well, Ryan, congrats on that second place finish. We'll hope to talk to you again here soon.
Yep, thank you.
So that was Ryan Kendrick in the 00 machine coming away second place. Thought we'd hear from Todd Slauson and Zach Nichols, but they've already started the party, so we won't hear from the rest of the top 3 here tonight. That's going to do it for us here up in the booth. Hope you guys enjoyed the broadcast as much as I did. The NORA series going to Texas next week. So if you enjoyed this one, same time, same place, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we head to the old Texas Motor Speedway. So you're not going to have that 8-mile wide turn 1. And it should be a fun track, very abrasive surface, kind of like Atlanta. So tire wear gonna be key, or tire management, excuse me, gonna be key there at that track. But thank you again for joining, and stay tuned as we head toward the end of the season in the NORA Series Season 2 coming to a close. Congrats again to Zach Nichols on the win, and Ryan Kendrick and Todd Slauson for the rest of those top 3. Signing off for now. Stay safe, stay great, and we'll talk to you guys again soon.